All right, everyone. Welcome to week 2 of the fall 2021 Bright Futures Career Speaker Series. The Bright Futures Career Speaker Series is an educational webinar series sponsored by the College of Marin County Office of Education, and the Workforce Alliance of the North Bay. Today's presentation topics are fire prevention, emergency medical, and nursing. As people are logging on today, I'd like to do a quick round of introductions. My name is Sita Williams, and I work for the Workforce Alliance of the North Bay. Moderating today, we also have Alex Jones in Career Services at the College of Marin. And presenting today, we have Jason Hatfield, Battalion Chief for the San Rafael Fire Department, Sarah Lefkowitz, Nursing Instructor at College of Marin, Dave Namath, Registered Nurse, soon to be in the ICU at Alta Bates Summit Medical Center, and Sammy Guana, Registered Nurse in the Emergency Department at Healdsburg Hospital. Before we get started with today's speakers, I'm going to do a quick housekeeping check so that we're all on the same page throughout the webinar. We will be recording the webinar. So why offer a career speaker series? Well, first, we'd like to introduce you to some of our local professional experts. We'd like to introduce you to jobs that you might not have known about before. And we'd like to help you to make informed decisions about the next steps on your career path. So what to expect today? The presentation hour will include introductions like we're doing right now, speaker presentations, and question and answer time. Please use the chat function of the webinar to ask your questions throughout our time together today. Here's our webinar series schedule. If you'd like to pick, you can pick and choose from the topics that interest you, but please join us for as many weekly programs as you can. For those of you who are in high school or are doing work experience classes in college, I have a speaker reflection form that can be used if your instructors approve extra credit. If you get inspired by one of our speakers today and would like to explore educational training programs in the area of fire prevention, emergency medical, or nursing, I'll send this list of educational programs out to you in a follow-up email. They're kind of hard to see right now on this slide because there were so many options in this area for training. So that's awesome, but I'll send it out later. It's not a comprehensive list, but it's a place you can start your research if you haven't started already. You can also email me after the program, and I'm happy to send this information to you or colleagues or teachers. In addition, if you'd like to connect with one of our speakers, please let me know through the chat or email me after the program, and I'll be sure to put my email in the chat later. If you need help finding a job, please contact one of America's job centers listed here. If your local region is not listed here, please email me after the webinar, and I'm happy to find the contact information for you in your local area. I will email these resources to you after the webinar. And finally, if you have any questions, please email either Alex Jones or me. We'll make sure to put our emails in the chat. Thank you so very much. And Alex, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, well, welcome everybody and all the panelists. Thank you for taking time out of your day to participate in this workshop or this career speaker series. And we'll just get started. We'll start off with Jason. Jason, if you could, share with the participants a little bit about your background, what's going on within fire, whatever you're feeling motivated to share right now. The floor is yours.
Great. All right, so first I'll talk about the industry, which is kind of the fire service in general. And the good news is, every community is protected by a fire department. Throughout the state, I'll talk mostly about the Bay Area since that's, I think, where most of the audience is from here. So most of the Bay Area is protected by municipal fire departments. So those are fire departments like San Rafael Fire Department, that's where I work. Could be County of Marin. So those are all considered municipal fire departments. Berkeley, Alameda, Contra Costa, pretty much everything that touches the Bay, kind of organized very similarly, funded similarly. Once you get a little bit more into the rural areas of the state, those are protected by CAL FIRE. And I think we all see the CAL FIRE firefighters on the news every night fighting a lot of the wildfires that are happening throughout the state. So there's some, some differences in the environment that they work. Like I said, mostly they're in a little bit more rural environment. That also goes into like the U.S. Fire Service. So if you've ever seen like the smoke jumpers or some of those type of firefighters, they work for the Forest Service. So those are kind of the main categories for the industry of where one could find work as a firefighter. And then I'll kind of talk about the jobs that are available, mostly in the municipal fire departments, and then they probably exist to some extent in the other ones at the state or the U.S. Forest Service. So I work for the city of Santa Fe, and we have a ton of different career opportunities. I mean, we have administrative assistants, we have management analysts, we have we have a front office that runs our organization. I'll kind of talk a little bit more about like the suppression side. So that is like what most people think of when they think of like a firefighter, paramedic. And I would, so like I said, that's kind of the suppression side, or we can kind of call them sworn. So they're the ones that have the badges. They're all hazard, all risk, much like a police officer. So we'd be the ones going into structure fires, and hazardous material incidents, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, our entry level to organization on that side, on the suppression side, would be a firefighter paramedic. And that's kind of the model for, I would say, most of the Bay Area departments, firefighter and a paramedic. So we work on fire engines, fire trucks, we have ambulances, so we transport patients to the hospitals. Actually, I mean, it's quite a bit of what we do. It's probably about 70% of what we do is actually emergency medical. So we'll help out patients, transport them to the hospital, anything from cardiac arrest to allergic reactions, broken bones. We can administer medications, all that kind of stuff. I'll talk a little bit about maybe some of the entryways to that. So firefighter, paramedic, the requirements for that, we're going to be Firefighter Academy. And I think I saw a couple of the junior colleges that you had flashed up there offer Firefighter 1 academies, and the Santa Rosa Junior College has one. There's a bunch of other ones throughout the Bay Area and throughout the state. So it's about a semester long process to get certified as a firefighter. They call it Firefighter 1. And then the other side, like I said, we do 70% medical. So the minimum is going to be EMT. And again, EMT is about a semester long course. I think there is some prerequisites to it. And then on top of the EMT, like I said, most Bay Area fire departments are looking for paramedics. So that's about another 9 months to a year on top of the EMT for that. So from probably being a student, looking for a career in the fire service in the Bay Area, it's probably going to be approximately about a 2-year process from the time you start your education to the time you're Firefighter 1 certified and paramedic certified. There are employment opportunities for those that are kind of on that journey, and we call them seasonal firefighters. So those are just kind of like hourly positions. Going back to the CAL FIRE employees that we see on the news, I mean, a lot of them are seasonal employees. So it's great experience. The entry level starting pay on those is probably somewhere in the $20 to $30 range. You are kind of all hazard, all risk. So they're out there, facing fire, putting out fire. So it's great experience. Like I said, it's seasonal. So typically they start the hiring somewhere at the beginning of fire season, which, as we know, is getting earlier and earlier every year. Goes throughout until the end of fire season, which is getting later and later. So I mean, they're probably doing 9 months of employment with that. I'll speak in Marin County. Marin County Fire Department does hire seasonal firefighters. At Santa Fe, I was actually just kind of looking through some of our employment opportunities, and what we're hiring for seasonals is it's actually defensible space inspectors. So they go around throughout the communities in Santa Fe, and they assess the vegetation around homes, and they'll guide homeowners on how to make their properties as safe as possible to defend against wildfire. So I mean, it's a good entry level position. It's something that's good to do while you're doing fire academy. I mean, a lot of the fire academies are evening, 6 to 10, a couple nights a week and weekends. So, and I'm looking at the job announcement right here. I mean, it's $30 an hour. The requirements to apply for it are pretty minimal. A lot of them are just desired classes and stuff like that. So that's better than what I had when I was coming up. I think I worked on an ambulance and I was making about $6.50 an hour. So there are some opportunities out there. And wildfire mitigation, defensible space is a huge new subject or new area for all fire departments. So there's a lot of opportunities out there for people looking to start their career and even, make that a career if that's what they choose. Okay, so that's kind of the opportunities in the fire departments. I'll talk a little bit about my journey. So I grew up in Santa Fe, went to Santa Fe High School. I was lucky enough to get into UC Davis at the end of that. So I went off to college. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I was studying biology. I had played a lot of team sports before in high school and at Davis as well. And somewhere along the line, probably about my junior year, a friend's older brother got a job in the fire service. He was going to Davis as well. So that kind of opened my eyes. I thought that was a little odd. I had always perceived firefighting to be pretty blue collar and not something that people with 4-year degrees go into. But I was drawn towards it. I think a lot of it was just strong desire to help others. The teamwork aspect is huge because we work in teams. There's 3 to 4 people on a fire engine. And we work on at Santa Fe, we work on a shift where there's 22 other people. And when there's a fire or something big, we all need to work together to keep each other safe and keep the community safe. So that's kind of what drew me towards it. So I kind of made a little bit of a right-hand turn right after getting my degree. Kind of felt like going backwards, honestly, but kind of came back to Santa Rosa Junior College, got my EMT, got my paramedic, got my firefighter 1. Like I said, worked part-time on an ambulance. That was to kind of sharpen my EMT skills while I was going through school. And then I got really lucky and got hired at my hometown, Santa Fe, shortly after getting all the coursework done. Let's see. I think I kind of described, I'm looking at some of the prompts I have, but some of the pathways towards career in this profession. So like I said, it's going to be the Firefighter 1 Academy, then EMT and paramedic, and then looking for some kind of seasonal employment, ideally as you're traveling along that path. You don't need to. I mean, we're hiring people all the time. We're actually starting an academy of 7 people tomorrow, and a lot of them followed that path, but others have they have the Firefighter 1 and the paramedic, but they're doing other jobs in customer service, working at Costco, doing things like that. Those are all important skills to have as well, because we're dealing with the public every single day, communicating with them, addressing their needs, much like you would in any other customer service profession. It says in here, challenges in the profession. There are quite a few. I mean, it is hazardous. We do know that firefighters get hurt. So it can be dangerous physically, it can be dangerous mentally. There's a high degree of PTSD. I would say the good news is the fire departments have gotten a lot better at addressing these things and putting in health and wellness measures. We have counselors on staff. We're very cognizant of when we have a bad call to do debriefings and refer or go see clinicians and stuff like that. Similarly, on the physical side, we set aside time each day for physical fitness. And, the injuries do occur, but we're able to get everybody back to work through our occupational medicine programs. Let's see what else. I think other things that would be good to know as a person getting in as far as challenges. Public service, it seems like it is kind of designed for longer term careers. It's not, maybe comparing it to like the tech industry or something. Typically people don't jump in, do like 2 to 3 years and then go elsewhere. Kind of in it for the long haul. So most of our employees are going to work 20 to 30 years and then, ideally retire as a firefighter. There are some that they work for 10 years and then they decide they want to go do something else and they leave the field. But for the most part, probably over 90%, they'll start and do 20, 30 years and then retire. I think there's another prompt here. What I wish I had known before I set out in this career path. For me, it's what I expected. It's been a great career. It's super rewarding. I wouldn't change anything. But I think some things that people maybe assume about the fire service and probably police as well is like, you you don't need to have like your dad as the fire chief. We hire people from all walks of life. I have no family that's ever been in the fire service. It was completely foreign to me when I started, which was intimidating because, when you come in, it does kind of feel like a club sometimes, and they're speaking, the language that you're not used to with all these acronyms and stuff like that. But you quickly get trained and accustomed to it. So yeah, I think that would be important for everybody to know. And the other thing too is you don't need to be a huge, strong man. I think that's kind of a traditional view of it as well. We are trying to create a more diverse work group. Fire service in general, I will say it's not diverse, and that is a problem. It's predominantly male, and things like that. But it really does not need to be that way. But we're trying to kind of overcome some of those, prior beliefs and those types of things. So we have employees of all shapes and sizes, of all abilities, and you don't need to be able to lift up, ginormous amounts of weight. Let's see what else. I think that's pretty much all I have on here. I guess I'll pause and see if there's any questions.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that, Jason. Yeah, I'll go into the chat. I'll just we actually got a few questions, some interesting questions. This is an interesting question. Was there a turning point in your career that shaped your perception of life?
Wow, that's deep. No, I think maybe, I didn't mention, so I've been doing this approximately 20 years. And I think probably recently in the last 5 years, I realized, we talked about kind of the mental health aspect of the career, and just kind of thinking back, I'll tell you more about myself personally. I'm married, been married for 22 years now, I have 2 kids. And I think back to some of the, the family events where coming off shift, where I've been up for multiple calls at night and just kind of been a zombie, maybe not been as social and as engaged with the family as I could be. And I think I've come to realize that wasn't just a result of the fatigue of the sleepless nights and stuff. Sometimes it is just stuff that wasn't being dealt with. And I'll be on, I've taken advantage of a lot of our mental health programs, and it kind of gotten me to a place where enjoying the family, enjoying life a lot more. So kind of realizing the wear and tear of the career a little bit. So
yeah, thanks for sharing that. I was like, wow, that's a deep question for 448. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I know.
Another question is, what do you think are the most important characteristics of a firefighter?
So this is good because we're starting an academy tomorrow. So I was just kind of penciling out some stuff. So the most important traits, I'd say, a willingness to help others. You have to be altruistic. You have to put yourself behind, others' needs in front of your own. You can't be selfish and be a firefighter. And unfortunately, there are times, like I said, I've been doing it 20 years, I've seen firefighters act in selfish manners, and it is like absolutely contrary to everything we represent. So I think that's a big one. Just having that service mindset. We'll be talking to the recruits tomorrow about, our mission is to help others. It's a pleasure to serve. It's our privilege to serve. So just kind of having that service mindset. I think I spoke earlier too about kind of that customer service aspect. So I think those are the biggest ones. And then just, growth mindset. So there's so many things to know in the fire service and with the emergency medical aspect. There's you need to be looking, training yourself, receiving the training that the organization is providing, and then looking outside to see what else you can learn on your own, because it's just endless.
And what would you say the best thing about your job is?
So my current job as a battalion chief, what I like about it is I get to help those that are helping others. So I'm in a position where, if I show up at a fire station and the firefighters tell me that their equipment isn't working, or, there's something wrong with the station, or they're having difficulties on certain types of calls, I get to be the one that finds that solution for them. So just, makes their job easier, so they're able to just focus on serving the community.
And staying that right there for a second, like, so a battalion chief, are you on the truck fighting part? What does a day look like in the life of a battalion chief on the job?
So yeah, I'm the one that's in like the SUV or the pickup truck. So like in Santa Fe, we have 7 fire stations. So I pretty much cruise around throughout the community, checking on each one of the fire stations. When we do get a fire or a big vehicle accident or something like that, I do what we call the incident command. So I'll kind of set up the radio system and I'll direct the fire truck to the roof to do some ventilation. I'll direct fire engines inside. So kind of, the coach kind of calling the plays. Yeah.
And then typically, this is just kind of going off that question a little bit more. For a person like battalion chief, it's like, do you do a number of years firefighting, then you're driving? What's that,
Yep.
That process look like to get to your
Yeah, good question, because I didn't really cover that. So that I spoke about the firefighter paramedic position as kind of the entry level on the suppression side. So from there on the suppression side, it goes up. There we have a job class called a fire engineer, and they're the ones that drive the fire engine and operate the pump. And then we have the fire captain, and so that's the third person on the fire engine that supervises the driver and the firefighter. And then we have battalion chiefs ahead of there. So like I said, we have 7 fire stations, we have 7 captains, we have 7 engineers who drive the apparatus, and then 7 firefighters. So crews of 3. And then, battalion chiefs, sometimes we'll have deputy fire chiefs, we have a training officer. Those are kind of like the management or administrative people that help kind of run the fire department.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thank you. I like this question because I always, when I talk to students about this too, I was like, man, that's a show. That's not how it works. So how exaggerated do you think firefighting shows and movies are, compared to like day to day? I'm showing my age, backdraft, but that,
Yeah. That's funny. It's like, I don't watch any of those shows. I see the commercials though. So I think the thing that people need to be prepared for is, I think the fire service is probably like the military a lot. Well, you find yourself sitting there quite a bit, waiting for the bells to go off for the emergency. So, I mean, and we do have it from time to time where you hire somebody that's just like, I'm bored, I can't do this. The average fire engine in a city like Santa Fe is going to go on like, 6 to 7 calls a day. And luckily our communities are so safe these days with smoke detectors and fire prevention, that, we get maybe 1 fire per month. Wildland season, we get, different types of fires. We get the vegetation fires. So, you just have to be the type of person that's okay. Like I said, training, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to train for when the fire occurs. And then, it's probably not going to happen this shift or next shift, but it'll happen. And then to get that kind of that gratitude or not gratitude, I don't know, I guess job satisfaction when the emergency does occur and you perform well, and you help others, then it's kind of like, okay, I was ready for that. And the next one might not be for another month, but that's okay.
And so, in your years' experience, I know you came across a lot of, people within this industry who work within these spaces and such, and some were more successful than others. So the ones who were not as successful and, prevented them from continuing on, what were some of the common themes that came up where you're like, oh, wait a minute, they realized this wasn't for them, or you guys had that conversation? Has any of that kind of anything come to your mind around that?
I'd say so. Yeah, it's good timing on a question like that. Like I said, we're starting our academy tomorrow, so we do like a 6-week academy, and I would say, the culture of our fire department, I think most fire departments is very welcoming. So we really want to see these recruits succeed. Our safety is dependent on them knowing how to do their job. So we are open book. I will tell you everything I know over the course of my career. I want you to soak it up and absorb it like a sponge and be able to do it, because in the middle of the night when we go out to that, like I said, that fire, that hazardous material incident, I want you to be able to perform that task. We're not trying to one up each other, for some kind of career promotion. We're kind of covering each other's backs and that kind of stuff. So, but unfortunately, sometimes people are not successful in the fire academies, and during probation, and sometimes it seems like retention issues. They're shown a task multiple times and have difficulty performing it, or the same thing, taught a topic or something like that multiple times and just having trouble retaining it. And our performance is extremely important. Like I said, we might go out on a cardiac arrest. It's important that we push the right types of medications and do the right things at the right time, because if we don't, people can get hurt and get very severely hurt. So we have to keep our standards very high. sometimes people just aren't ready for it. They just need more time training. So that might be going back and working, as a seasonal or on an ambulance, or going back to school for some further education and training. I'd say those are what I've seen with people that aren't successful.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. Sounds like you guys are really trying to add those support systems in for the training academy and new recruits. So that's always great to hear. And actually kind of leads into this next question is a high school student beginning to investigate this field. Mm-hmm. Where should they start? I know we were talking San Rafael might be doing something in the spring in terms of EMT. That might be a good space. Where would a high school student start?
So I would say, so go to their school, go to their counseling department, tell their counselor that they're interested in a career in the fire service. And depending on what their career counselor, they might want to tell them that they're interested in being like a firefighter and or an EMT paramedic, so that they can kind of get, be thinking about both things. Alex, you mentioned San Rafael High, my understanding, is going to have a course on site hosted by College of Marin. That'll be one of the prerequisites, I believe, for EMT. So it's a great opportunity for high school kids that are interested in it to start, heading that direction. Other things I would say is like go to your local fire department, and you can just walk up to the apparatus bay and see the firefighters out there washing the engine or whatever, and mention it to them. Because a lot of departments have opportunities, whether it's volunteer, cadet. Some have some organized programs where you can come in and shadow for 8 hours or 24 hours. So yeah, those would be my two. Is like go use your resources at the high school that you go to, and then go to your local fire department and look for their resources too. And if their department doesn't offer those things, and they can point you in the direction of one close to you that does.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. And just one last question. So I want to ask a question. Typically, a person going through the EMT paramedic to become a firefighter, what does that timeline look like, traditionally, if they're hitting every step right on time?
Yeah, no, I would say, 2 years is that's a pretty fast pace, honestly. It's like I said, each, estimate about a semester per thing. So firefighter 1, then EMT, then paramedic. That's about 1.5 years, 2 years. And then you're going to want to build in that job experience so that you're prepared when you do get hired. So like I said, you don't struggle in an academy, and so you have the skills. So 2 years, I'd say, is from start to stop. 2+.
Well, Jason, thanks a lot for taking time out of your day to share your story and share a little bit about the industry as well too. And I see there's extra questions in the box. Don't worry, we'll get to those. Everybody, we'll send you an email. I see one about work experience for high school students. There's a way you can get credit. Like Jason was saying, cadet programs, having a conversation with your school to career coordinator. But we can definitely answer those questions. I just want to be respectful of everybody's time and all the panelists we have. So, but Jason, thanks a lot, and you're welcome to stick around. And thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I'll answer a couple of those questions in the chat while I'm listening to the next one.
Perfect. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And so now, everybody, we're going to transition. Well, we're going to stay within the health occupations fire space. And now we're going to talk with Dave, Sammy, and Sarah about nursing. Dave, and you feel free, I know you're going to talk about this, went to College of Marin. Sammy went to Santa Rosa Junior Colleges program, and Sarah is one of our faculty from College of Marin's nursing program. So Dave, I'll let you start it off, share your story, and the floor is yours.
Sure, I'll keep it brief since I have about 5 minutes. I'll just do 5 minutes of talking and then 5 minutes of questions if you guys have them. So I'll kind of go. There's a fire truck. Thank you, Jason. Quite active in SF. So a little bit about me. I'll share my screen a little bit. Got a little something for you guys. So this is maybe not the traditional path to becoming an RN, but for me, I also grew up in San Rafael. This is me in college. I went to Cal Poly, went to Terra Linda High School, then I went to Cal Poly for 5 years to get my biochemistry degree. I ran on the track team. Ended up doing 5 years there on the track team, ran the 400 hurdles. And a lot of my interest was really in in doing science and doing bench work and investigating, using kind of the scientific method. And kind of my way to getting back to nursing was that I had a back injury and I had a really good nurse. And I just felt like something was missing in my life. I really felt like I wanted to take care of patients. And, that was after 3 years after college doing research at the University of Utah. I transitioned completely 180 and changed my career to nursing. Did as much research as I could to kind of fast track my way through, and also gain clinical experience. Like Jason said, people will have different experience. They come in with different skill sets, and for me, I wanted to take my time, and so I did 2 years at an ADN program. So I went to College of Marin for that. This is my first day at College of Marin. I'm right there on the bottom right. And then by the end of that 2 years, I learned a lot. And this was me during COVID in the ICU on my last rotation at Kaiser Oakland. And I just learned a lot. And I felt like I kind of affirmed my passion for nursing and taking care of people. A lot of the nursing job, we work closely with doctors in order and other staff to basically be the eyes and ears of what's going on with our patients at the bedside. So for intensive care nursing, which is kind of the highest level of the hospital, say Jason admits a patient to the ER, the ER decides kind of where that patient goes, and they'll either bandage them up and send them home, or they're going to move them up to different tiers and levels of care. So at the very beginning, you'll be on what's called a medical surgical floor, where you're not necessarily ready to go home. We might need to do some more testing, but you're not critically ill. Or you'll do something called a telemetry floor, where we put a couple patches on your chest to see what your heart rhythms are. And if you have any sort of medical drips that you might be doing, maybe there's something wrong with your heart, and we really want to, your heart's really sick, and we want to make sure that your heart pumps properly so that your brain can get the oxygen and your organs can function really well. You're going to be in what's called the intensive care unit, which is, luckily where I'll be starting my career and hopefully learning a lot more and more. So the typical path to becoming a registered nurse is here. So you're going to start up here with your 6 courses that are stats, biochem, micro, anatomy, and physiology. And at the same time, you'll be doing your GEs. After you finish that, you'll do sort of a pre-test in order to enter into a nursing program. This is if you're going to an ADN route. If you're going to a BSN route directly, there are some programs that you can reach out to or kind of do your research on. You don't have to do the standardized test, but you will take all these classes first. And then you'll do your RN courses. So it's usually 2 years for the top half and then 2 years for the bottom half. After which you'll do the board exam and you'll become a registered nurse. So that's kind of the path. These are kind of if you want to take a screenshot, this is kind of what you'll be learning in each of those courses. And yeah, that's kind of my path to get there. And if you guys have any questions, I'd love to answer.
I have a question for you, and I'm gonna ask you the same thing too, Sammy. So in terms of like you going through the program, now that you went through it, any takeaways you can give students who are gonna, possibly might be starting the program soon or interested in it? What should they start doing now?
So if you're interested in it, you really just, you got to reach out to a counselor probably, or a friend who's already a nurse, and they can help you kind of get the proper steps on what schools to maybe go to. Kind of really depends on what program you want to do. And then if you're about to become a nurse, I would say, or you're about to go to school, I would say that the most helpful kind of tip that I got was to just like kind of relax going in. and just be very humble, because there's so much to learn. And, there's a lot of pressure involved in becoming a nurse, and there's no reason to put even more stress on yourself. So if you're about to start nursing school, the best thing you can do is take a vacation, and just because there's a lot going on right now in the nursing world. So kind of tune out of the drama of nursing, because COVID and burnout, it's just a really high stress job right now. And but it's worth it, I think.
And what was your favorite day, at the job? I guess also want to expand on that too. Going off a typical day, like I guess for me, when I think of the favorite day, I also think about like when you look back and you're like, wow, this was like a day. I'm glad, I did this job. Did anything like that occur recently or in the past that you can share with us?
I really love medicine. I really love the science behind it. So for me, it was probably my last day in the ICU, which was back in May. And I had a COVID patient where I had to wear that crazy suit. And they had like a blood transfusion I had to do. They were on like kidney dialysis. And it was just like a lot of machines and a lot of fun. And I'm like, this is my jam. This is what I want to be doing. I want to be helping people as much as I can. There's a lot of other moments during nursing school where you're realizing kind of the fragility of life. There is you feel really, I'm sure that Sarah and Sammy can agree to this. It's like really being there with the patients on like their worst days, or seeing the process of life. You go through birth all the way through death. You do like baby deliveries, and the next week you might be in hospice care, tending someone's, last couple weeks. And it's like a momentous feeling of like just the circle of life. And I think that's like, it's really humbling and it's really fulfilling for me.
And this being like early on in your, your career, where do you kind of envision yourself, maybe in the next 5 years?
There's a lot of paths, and that's kind of the beauty of nursing. For me, I want to be an ICU nurse for as long as I can stand it, basically. Mm-hmm. There are other options if you're an ICU nurse. There's things you can do. At the moment, I'm keeping my options open. But you can be in education, go back and teach others, and try to kind of pay it forward, or you can become a nurse anesthetist. There's a lot of ICU nurses are doing that. I believe they had like quadruple the applications that they had last year, because it's a less stressful job that pays even more than a regular RN. So, and that requires 2 to 3 more years. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. But yeah, no. So I don't know if this happened early on in your career. Has something occurred like within your career, like while you're at the job in the ICU, that kind of taught you a valuable lesson to kind of enhance, like I guess your skill set, or the way you work within the ICU or as a nurse?
Yeah, really, it's one lesson I always bring to is like listening to the families. It's one of the most difficult moments is to be in no one wants to be in the ICU, and I hope I never see any of you in the ICU. It's a difficult place to be. And so really, to me, just listening to the family's concerns, always trying to make their day a little bit better, and getting my work done.
Perfect. Well, Dave, thank you. I appreciate it. And if anybody has any questions for Dave, feel free to put them in the box or just email us and let us know. But we're going to jump over to Sammy. And Sammy, please, share your story, your journey. It might be similar to Dave, might be different, but, the floor is yours. We love to hear, your experience and, what got you to where you're at right now.
Yeah. So, hello, everyone. So I first want to start off by saying that with any career choice that you make, I wouldn't worry about getting there. It's like if it's destined to happen, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, and that's what was told to me as I went through my journey into becoming the RN that I am now. So my journey started off in high school. I wanted to be not a nurse. I wanted to be a chemist, actually. I really enjoyed chemistry. I had a lot of fun with that. And then my senior year of high school, my math teacher actually talked about his wife being an RN, especially a flight nurse. Just how incredible the work that she was doing, from transporting people out in the field, flying them over to whatever hospital, that would be able to take them. So that's when I just simply decided, it sounds silly, but simply I was just like, I want to be a nurse. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know the hard work that would go into it. I simply just wanted to do it. And so that's when I went to my high school counselor, who was super nice and gave me the tools that I needed. He talked about SRJC. He talked about Sonoma State. He talked about the other universities that I ended up applying to. So after high school, I went to Sonoma State University as a pre-nursing major, which just means that you are entitled, kind of in a way, to, or in front of the line for the nursing prerequisites that Dave was talking about, like the microbiology, anatomy, physio, all those pre-courses that you need to eventually get into nursing school. So I completed all those at Sonoma State University. I also took extra time. My journey to become an RN took 7 years, 8 years. I just recently graduated from Sonoma State again with my second bachelor's in nursing. So that's why I started off with that first comment. It's just don't worry about how long it's going to take, because it's eventually going to happen. So at Sonoma State, I took extracurriculars. I got involved with leadership, which is also good skills for a nurse to have, because you're working with, how Dave said, other nurses, doctors, other members of the interdisciplinary team, like respiratory therapists, CNAs, EMTs, paramedics. In my case, working in the emergency department at Healdsburg Hospital, I come in contact with a lot of EMTs and paramedics, bringing people who are either sick in accidents, or they just simply don't know what's wrong with them. They bring them over to the emergency room, and that's where me and my team would assess and go from there. So with the extracurriculars, I got involved with leadership at Sonoma State University. Really taught me the communication skills, interpersonal skills that, that's required of almost any job, if you think about it. And then I took a break. I studied abroad in Spain, went to learn more Spanish, even though I was already a Spanish speaking person. So my track was, very chaotic. I came back from Spain and began applying to nursing schools, didn't get in. So I decided to just graduate from Sonoma State with a bachelor's in Spanish with a minor in history. And fortunately for me, having already completed my prereqs, those for the first 2 years, the following year, I got into Santa Rosa Junior College's nursing program. And then exactly how Dave was saying, if you're either in the process of applying or waiting to start your program, I agree with Dave, take a break, go on a vacation, do whatever it is that you like to do to blow off steam, read a book, watch TV, watch all the TV you want in the world, hang out with your friends. Because once nursing school starts, you'll be putting in long hours during those first 2 years of nursing school in your from reading all the assignments, care planning, all the things that go into nursing school, and with minimal sleep, going to clinicals, and then depending on the program that you go to. I know that College of Marin has one, because I had coworkers go to College of Marin. Their nursing program is fabulous. I'm from SRJC. I can attest that SRJC is a wonderful program. Sonoma State University, having transitioned from SRJC to Sonoma State, if you are fortunate to get into a BSN program, those are also very great programs. But at the end of the day, all those programs they all teach you the same things, and that's to become an RN. And so I graduated SRJC last year, almost didn't graduate because of COVID. Fortunately, I did. And then exactly how Dave said in his little PowerPoint, I studied, and then I took the board and I passed. And then one thing about nursing here, and at least in Sonoma County, it's very competitive. So everyone wants to work in a hospital. Everyone wants to work in like those specialty fields, like how Dave's in an ICU, and in the emergency department. My first job was actually at a skilled nursing facility. And for those people that don't know what that is, it's a skilled nursing facility. It's basically a rehabilitation for someone who's came from a hospital and just needs that extra help to get them back on their feet, whether that's working with extra hours with physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, just, the things that they need so they can go home in a safe manner. And then I was at the skilled nursing facility for a little over just under a year, and now I've just stepped into this new role of being in the emergency department at Healdsburg Hospital. So I'm even though I'm new, I'm able to utilize the skills that I learned in nursing school and at the skilled nursing facility, and then just some of the things that I would say for the high school students wanting to get ready, and it's something that I regret not doing. Now reflecting on how I became a nurse, one things that I regret now is not, researching more, going out to becoming a CNA, taking the EMT course, because those are valuable skills that will help you become a better nurse. You can start out in the field early. You can put your foot in the door. CNAs can work in hospitals. EMTs can also work in hospitals. EMTs can, aside from working with the fire department, they can work as emergency technicians in the ER. And that's just another stepping stone, an easier way for you to eventually get the job that you wanted. So that's kind of my journey of how I became a nurse.
Perfect. Yeah, and Sammy, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. And somebody had a question in the box. Was there a individual who inspired you, or a mentor who you strived to be like, who worked in that space? Did you have anybody like that within your world who kind of helped you along this journey?
I didn't. No, I didn't have that person who, that showed me or helped me along the way. I'm a first generation college student, so I was the first one in my family to go to college, let alone graduate high school. So it's really seeing my family. So the main reason I became a nurse is because I didn't see enough nurses who spoke Spanish, and seeing them go through the hospital and not having nurses, doctors, the whole team speak Spanish. So that's my reason for becoming a nurse.
Well, hey, Sammy, thanks a lot for sharing that story with us, and your path that you took. And if anybody else has any questions, we'll make sure to get those to you. And honestly, you're in that space now, so you may end up being one of those mentors one of those days. So just kind of keep that in mind. But no, thank you so much. And I want to transition over to Sarah now, because we've heard from students who had different education and career paths. And Sarah, I was hoping you could share a little bit about yours, and then you being like an instructor, helping students, reach their goal of becoming nurses, maybe some insights or some takeaways that you could share with students who are interested in this field. That would be huge.
Sure. I would be happy to do that. Let's see, I was a nurse for 17 years working at the bedside before I went into teaching, and now I teach in the registered nursing department. And the best thing about teaching, so David, who talked to us earlier, was one of my students. And so going around and seeing students in the hospitals, in the clinics, working the jobs, that's the most awesome feeling. So I think in terms of being a nurse, one of the most important things is, wanting to make a difference in the lives of others. That's a pretty exciting piece. I'll also say you have to like somewhat blood and guts, and being a little comfortable with that, with bodily processes and things like that. I think everyone did a good job of talking about their journey into nursing, and I know both Both of the nursing students or new nurses talked about having a passion for science. As nurse needs to have a lot of different knowledge. And so you can see on this slide here, different math. You have to do a lot of dosage calculations, know some things about chemistry, about pharmacology, understand how people work, because mostly we are a people-oriented profession. So having some of that good knowledge is important. And then we have lots of skills. We give medications. We do something called physical assessment. We always have our stethoscopes out. We might put catheters maybe into people's stomachs to help them get better. We might be putting them on respirators or things like that. So you can think, is this something that you would enjoy doing? And then we have to have a lot of different abilities, and you can see this list here. I would say kindness is the most important thing that you need as a nurse. People come in when they're in the hospital or when you're treating them. It's often a really low point in their life. So treating them with kindness. You also have to be really curious. You have to be curious about people, how they work, curious about understanding the body. And I'll put in like a lifelong learner, which is really important. The medical field changes all the time. We know COVID, nobody knew the word COVID, right, 3 years ago. And so we're always faced with new diseases, new medications. And so we're learning all the time. Another thing we could think about is what does it mean to be a professional, right? To show up, and maybe part of being a professional is you're really tired, you didn't sleep well, maybe you broke up with your boyfriend, but it's time for you to go to work, and you have to put all that emotions aside and really be able to be there for the patient. And that's a really important thing. We work in teams as healthcare professionals. We work with all of the people who presented today. And so being able to have people skills, being able to have do conflict resolution and work with coworkers, those are really important things also. Dave talked a little bit about different prerequisites for nursing. And so here they are. So if you're thinking, I know a lot of you are in high school, you know, what courses do I need to take? If you want to start enrolling in college, and here's the things you want to take. So anatomy and physiology, those are excellent understandings to have. If you're wanting to be admitted to a nursing program, there's the College of Marin website. It's important to go there. There's lots of information. You can check out the application process. You can check out the program pathway. Those are all there, and getting yourself acquainted with a counselor is important. Most important is setting a goal. Anyone who wants to be a nurse and who is willing to put work in, you can do it. But setting the goal, you know, what do I want to be? Do I think that this is something for me? When you're becoming a nurse, if you have experience in healthcare, it's super important. And so I have some different pathways when we look at your application for nursing school. One of the things we look at is, have you done anything in the healthcare field? One of the most important skills if you want to become a nurse is just, can you talk to someone who's sick? Can you be next to someone who's vomiting and be able to extend kindness and care to them? So anything that you do in the medical field, and I worked as a nurse's aide when I put myself through college, but any of these things super, super helpful. In the medical field, we have all kinds of crazy terminologies, so understanding some of the way that we speak, like what is a nephrostomy, and you get that if you're doing anything in the medical field. And then we can think about, what do nurses do? So we have patients, they may be hooked up to a lot of different machines. We're always using our hands, we're always using our hearts, and we're also always using our brains, thinking about, what do we need to do for that patient? What can we do to make them better? So I think nursing is a great career. I've done many, many different things in it, and I encourage people to pursue that.
Thank you for sharing, Sarah, and everybody. Thank you so much for sharing, your journeys, your perspectives, and giving students like inside information about like the nursing field and fire. I see Jason jumped off, but yeah, no. If anybody has any questions later on, feel free to email us. I know we went over a lot today and we shared a lot with you. So if something comes up later, feel free to reach out to like Sita, myself, and we can direct you to Sammy, Dave, and Sarah. But yeah, thanks again. And Sita, if you want to close us and take us away, that'd be great.
Sure. Let's see, we just got one more chat. Is it a question? Oh no, just a thank you. So yeah, and that's really what I was going to say to all of you, Dave, Sammy, and Sarah, and Jason too, who I don't think is with us anymore, but on the webinar, that is. And I just wanted to say thank you so very much for taking time on the afternoon right before dinner to speak to our job seekers and our students. And if you, Sarah, if you have any brochures for the program or anything, feel free to pop them to me and I'll add them to our follow-up email. I am going to send everybody, some links to all the surrounding colleges programs, but I'm happy to send any brochures if you like. But really just thank you so very much. It's great to get the student perspective or the recent grad perspective, and also folks who have been, at this nursing thing for a while. And, Sarah, you've always really supported our school to career and career exploration projects. So I just want to say thank you to you, personally. Thank you for participating.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. It just has to do with the kind of the nursing path. And to be brief, the associate's degree route, in my opinion, is the best way to go. You'll have professors like Sarah who have been in the field for a long time, and you'll get a really, really good deal because it is subsidized by the state of California. And so you get a really a world-class education for a very, very little amount of money. And you will have more clinical time and more experience than someone who's actually BSN prepared. So I think that it's actually like a really great way to go.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much. All right, so I guess we'll wrap it up. We're at 5:30, and thank you so much, everyone. I'll stay on the line if students have or job seekers have any questions. Otherwise, have a really great night. And thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Good to see you, Sarah.
Oh.
Likewise.
Nice plug at the end, David. Thank you.
Got you guys.
I know, that was great. That was great.
They took the words right out of my mouth.
That's the way to go.
Okay, you're getting a lot of thank yous in the chat. So yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and the last minute nature of it all too, both of you.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's actually refreshing.
Yeah, no, and what you shared was just so valuable. So both of you.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's so many different ways to become a nurse. It's really cool.
Yeah, and a lot of different types of nursing you can do.
It's
in demand in our area, in our region too. So
it's not combined.
Yeah, totally.
Mhm.
So, well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Take
Appreciate
care.
it. You guys have a
Yeah.
good evening.
All right, I think I'm
Mhm.
gonna
You have the recording
close.
on still. Oh, you can close it. Yeah, let's close it. I think the last
Okay.
two.
Oh, thanks for telling me about the recording.